Hello, I'm Sunny Goldberg, and welcome to Know Your Neighbors. I am so happy to be sitting here today with Maria Valente, proprietor and owner of Chocolations. I'm sure many of you know her face, but you may not know that she is also an author. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you, Sunny. It's just such an honor to be here with you.
Oh, I love this book, and we'll talk about that, but tell us a little about yourself. I know you had Chocolations on the Avenue.
Yes.
And then moved
to East Boston Post Road. I've been there since 2010, and it has been wonderful to be in the community of Mamaroneck. I love it here. My kids grew up here. Mamaroneck is in my heart, and it's just been wonderful to be here with all of.
You can tell that 100%. You do everything for the community. I've never known anybody to come forth with so much help in the community.
Oh, I have, and her name is Sunny.
Oh, okay. But with the businesses and everything is just terrific. And I was so surprised. I was given this as a gift, and I said, okay, I really want to read this, but I kept putting it off. I sat down and I finished it in 2 days, maybe a night and a day. I really loved it, and I can't believe you could write this. I really can't. Tell us about, I know you're a mother of 2 children. Mm-hmm. I know you are a lawyer. Mm-hmm. All of these things. And then you ended up as a chocolate maker of the best quality. And when did you decide you wanted to write?
It was always a burning desire of mine. You know how when you're in high school and you write your little blurb to go under the picture? In the yearbook.
Senior yearbook or whatever.
Well, my blurb was to write something the whole world would read. And the quote that I put as my quote, because we were all supposed to put quotes, was a quote from Thoreau. And it actually happens to be the one that is the last line of this book.
Oh.
It was the quote that always guided me and always gave me hope, and it is because of that, because I was guided by a quote, I thought, well, what if a bunch of other people were? What if there was a quote that influenced them and made them sort of build their life around this certain quote? And what would that quote be?
So what was the one?
Mine was, in the long run, men hit only what they aim at. Therefore, though they should fail immediately, they'd better aim at something high. So that's always been my, my guiding star. Aim high. You're going to fail. I have failed many, 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 many times
We
at
all
many,
have.
many things. But I keep trying. So it's basically just saying keep on trying. Aim high, and eventually you'll hit what you're aiming at.
After I finished, I came running in, and I said, Maria, I love this book. I love this book. And you were so cute. You said, I said the characters were so well developed, and you said there's a little bit of me in every one of them.
Every single one of them has a little bit of me or someone I know closely.
Okay, so I haven't said All Honest Pilgrims.
Yes.
And All Honest Pilgrims, why that title?
Well, it's actually, again, from a quote from Thoreau. He is talking about different people from different backgrounds all coming to Walden Pond, and he calls them all honest pilgrims. So that's why I took that, because that's exactly what my book is about. It's sort of a modern Canterbury Tales, where different people from different backgrounds, different occupations are all going to, in Chaucer's case it was Canterbury, but in my case it's to Walden Pond.
Well, Lucy is definitely you.
Well, yeah.
A bit of Lucy because she's a chocolatier.
Correct.
And I found her having fallen in love right away with Billy. Did you fall in love with your husband very early?
We were college sweethearts. I met him my first week in college, and by the time I graduated college, I was already married with 1.5 kids. So yeah, we were definitely.
I mean, this is like
young
Stone
love.
Age for people. Brad
Yes.
and I were that way. My sister and her husband, they went to Berkeley their junior year married. So you had Michael already.
I had Lana first, and then
Oh, you had Lana first.
yeah, Alana is older than they're only a year and 4 days apart, my kids, and my baby's going to be 40 this year. So that's really hard to say. That is really hard to say. But yeah, my Michael's turning 40.
So you had Lana, you had Michael. You were together how long?
13 years.
13 years.
Yeah.
And
Then we were divorced. I had just finished law school. And
then you decided you didn't want to be a lawyer.
decided I didn't want to be a lawyer, but that took a few years to figure that out. In the back of my mind, this writing was always
Wow.
in my head. I didn't really sit down to start writing the book until around I would say 1999 and 2000.
Did you write by hand or did you?
I was actually working at a computer service company, and I used to teach people how to use the computer, which is hysterical considering how I can barely, get through the day without cursing my computer and wanting to throw it through the wall.
Exactly.
But while I was there at this company, I used to do a lot of writing because I had a lot of downtime. Y2K happened, and things were just, then 9/11 happened. I incorporated it into the book.
Beautifully, really. Did you ever go there to set up chocolates?
No, that
Okay.
was
Yeah. made up.
What
Okay.
what I call this book is faction, so it's fiction based on fact.
Okay.
So there's a lot of fact, a lot of things that actually happened in the world and in my life, or the lives of people that I knew and cared about. But there's also a ton of fiction, most of
Yeah.
it. Like Rico isn't a real person, but I wish he were. He's the brother.
He's the brother
He's
of
the
the-
brother I wish I had,
Yeah.
I have 4 sisters who I love to death, but I don't have any brothers. If I had a brother, it would have been Rico.
Brother sticks up for you. There's no doubt
Yeah,
about it.
I really wanted that,
Something that I couldn't get over is Chris. Can we talk?
Yes. Oh,
Chris
yes.
is a singer,
He also is one that I totally made up.
and you totally made up.
Yeah.
But did you write his songs?
I did write those songs, yes.
Maria, come on.
I wrote those songs.
I'm very impressed. I said,
you.
maybe she heard him from.
No, those are my songs. Yeah.
You can't get there from here.
Yeah.
Always knew what I wanted. My future seemed so clear. I'd worked real hard for the American dream, a family, and career. And you did just that. So you were able to write the songs. You were able to make the characters gel and come together.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that was something that took how long?
20 years. I started it, like I said, around 1999. I did not get it published until 2020 during the pandemic, because it was, everybody's checking off the things on their bucket list
Right.
during the pandemic, and this was my biggest thing. I want to finish this book. I want to get this novel out there. And I had not finished it because in the meantime, life happened. A lot of different things happened in my life, and I started thinking, well, this is the way my novel should end. No, this is the way my novel should end. No, it should go a different way. No, I'm going to do it this way. And finally, I had to make a decision on how I was going to end it, and there were, some loose ends that needed to be cleared up. So I spent a good portion of the pandemic cleaning it up, and figured out how to get it published. And
How hard was that?
Not as hard as I thought it was going to be, actually. I published it.
You hear of everybody getting rejection letters.
Well, I didn't. I was afraid. So when I first started it, I did look for the traditional means of publishing, which was through a literary agent and going to a publishing house. I wrote one letter to one literary agent, and he happened to be the one who represented Frank McCourt of Angela's Ashes.
Oh.
And
Oh my God.
he loved the idea of the book. So I sent him the book. When you send books back then, 20-something years ago, it was actually a manuscript that, I had to print or kill all those trees and print and send it. And he said, I think some of your characters are too similar, work on it a little more. And that was like, I don't take rejection well. So I took that as, a no.
Uh-oh, nobody likes it.
And that's why I sat on this for 20 years, because that one person rejected me.
Wow.
And I, then heard how the guy who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul was rejected 200 and something times. And I said, wow, I gave up after one rejection. How could I do that? So I started my own publishing company, and I published it myself through Amazon. So it's available on Amazon, and it's also available at Chocolations.
I know how much Thoreau there was. I've always wanted to go.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Have you been?
Oh, many times, yes. This actually started because of a trip I took to Walden Pond in the late 90s. I was just like my pilgrims, I was searching for answers. I had just gotten divorced. I didn't know what I had just graduated law school, knew I didn't want to be a lawyer, but didn't know what I wanted to do. I have these two young kids. I didn't know where I was mentally heading, because I just didn't know what my life was going to be like with all these, crazy things happening. So I went up to Walden Pond, and it happened to be just about this time of year, because Henry David Thoreau's birthday is tomorrow, ironically.
Wow.
And every year around this time of year, they have this annual gathering.
So that is true.
That's true. The annual gathering is definitely a thing.
What do they call it?
They just call it the annual gathering of the Thoreau Society. Wow. So I joined the Thoreau Society. I went back. My kids thought I was in a cult. They thought for sure I was, But it was lovely. They, did a lot of readings from different works from Thoreau. Wow. They did walks around the pond, which was beautiful.
So it's kind of a meditation.
It was meditative. It was just beautiful.
Zen, wonderful.
Yeah, and they had just so many interesting speakers, and got to know people that I'm still in touch with today. And what really struck me about this was that at this annual gathering, the first one I went to, there were doctors, lawyers, professors, bikers, store clerks, librarian. There were all different people from all different walks of life. And that's what gave me the idea of, well, it's almost like a Canterbury Tales, where all different people have so many different things going on in their lives, but yet there's one common ground.
And that's Thoreau.
And that was Thoreau. So, that was really the genesis of the book. And then I thought, well, what if each one of those people had a quote that spoke to them specifically? And that was kind of how it happened. When I originally wrote the book, and the one that I sent to that literary agent, I had it as 12 separate chapters, like 12 separate short stories almost. And each of those short stories was, from start to finish, that was it for each character. And so I actually rewrote the book from what it originally was.
Can I tell you, I've been a teacher, a speech pathologist, and a teacher at of college, and of course I wrote notes all through it, and I was so interested in the different characters. Diana, who has eating problems. Billy initially is this young kid who's made fun of, at Lucy, who is just so sweet to the older people and helpful. And I loved the chapter or the discussion when she goes with the women to the casino.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites.
And
Yeah,
it's just terrific.
and that was based on fact.
And that was.
That was totally fact.
It's so interesting because they went in that bus and she had brought a book
Yeah.
or something. They said, no, turn that light off.
Yeah.
And it just was so well done, really.
Thank you.
Very real and struck a note with me. I know you've done a book club so
Yes.
far.
Yes.
Which is fascinating.
Yes.
How did they receive the book?
They loved it. That was great. I was asked.
Was it a local?
It was a local book club. They asked me to come, and they were going to use this as their book of the month. And they said, "Would you come and speak with us on the night when we discuss this
Neat.
book?" And it was lovely. Absolutely the best experience. I am available to do it for anybody else who has book clubs.
You hear that? We've been a book club for 44 years. It's really terrific when people give you input, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the best part is I bring chocolate.
Oh, God.
But yeah, it was wonderful to. I've done book signings, but with a book signing, usually they have not read the book yet.
No.
So you're describing the book to them. But with the book club, they had read the book, and so they were asking questions. And how did you come up with this idea? And why would you? What was just like you're doing? Because you've read the book, and that was very exciting to me to actually be able to tell them in real time. Because a lot of times you read something and the author's long dead, and
Yes, that's true.
I said, well, why did he do that? And you'll never know because he's gone. But it was exciting to me to be able to explain why certain things were done in certain ways.
I really thought that, getting back to characters, forgive me for 1 second, Henry David
Yes.
was just so special.
Those-
And libraries.
yes.
Did you go to the library?
Oh
ever?
yeah, that was true. The library at Walden Pond, I think they call it the Thoreau Center,
Right.
is magnificent. It's a beautiful
And
library.
are they as kind and as welcoming as?
Yes, yes, yeah. Concord is a beautiful, beautiful little town. It's got so much history because that's where the Revolutionary War began. It was the beginning, Concord, when you think of Concord grapes, Concord watches, all this kind of thing, all these great minds, created things in Concord. And Thoreau, Louisa May Alcott, Emerson, they were all
right.
contemporaries.
So you see why the writers were so
yeah.
inspired because of
Yes.
the environmental
Yeah.
beauty
Yeah.
surrounding them.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful, beautiful place. And I highly recommend everybody, who's interested in writing to go up there at least
And
once.
it's not that far.
It's not that far. It's about 3
can
and change, 3.5
Driving.
hours. Yeah.
Yes. Do a
here.
book on tape. You can take this book on
That's
tape.
right. That's right.
You do have it on tape.
I do. I did the audio book, and it's available on just about every audio outlet, Audible and Barnes & Noble Audible, and all
Did
those
you
kinds of
read
things.
it for the?
I did, yeah.
Wow.
I did.
And how was that?
That was stressful. The gentleman who was helping, and he was a huge help to me with all of this, he said, "You're making it look very easy," because I was able to just sort of keep on going. I don't know how I did that, and I don't know if I could do it again. I hope so, because I have 2 more books in the works.
Wow. Good for
But-
you.
It was very difficult, and I really struggled with, well, what do I do when I come to a character who's a male? How do I change my voice?
What did you
Or what do I do when I'm Chris? Do I have a Southern accent?
What'd you
When
do
I'm
when-
Billy, do I have a Boston accent? So I did try to do the little, the accents. So there is a little bit of that. And the biggest compliment I got was someone from Texas said, "So what part of Texas are you from?"
Oh,
I said,
my God.
I'm not from Texas. He said, are you kidding me?
Good
You
for
really
you.
nailed that accent.
Wow, Maria, that's another
So-
gift. I mean, really.
It was fun. It was really a lot of fun, and I mean the whole process was fun. And that's why I'm I'm about halfway through with the sequel, and I'm also working on a prequel, which I'm very excited about because that did not start out to be the prequel to this. It started out being a family history or a faction book based on my family history.
You talk about Nona. You had a
Yes,
great grandmother
so-
and a grandmother.
Yeah.
Were they in your home? Did you live close?
My grandmother did live close. My grandmother, my maternal grandmother, was a real estate broker back in the day when women did not work. She was a real pioneer. And I, grew up thinking that you always go to grandma's office on a Sunday. You don't go and have, pasta. You go to her grandma's office on a Sunday and you take her out to the open houses because she doesn't drive.
Wow. So you did have that relationship.
Oh yeah, yeah. We had a
which,
great relation, but the more traditional, cooking kind of grandma that I describe in there, the Mrs. Rinaldi, that was based on my kid's great grandmother, who I just absolutely adored, and she was the quintessential Italian homemaker.
Wow. And that comes
amazing
through,
chef.
really, the beauty of. And what about battered women? How did you get into? I mean, that was so real.
Yeah, sadly, that was something that wasn't so made up.
Yeah.
So I did, go through a lot of what Lucy goes through in the book. And, that was sort of my cathartic way of dealing with it, was
Must
to
have
write
been
about
very
it.
difficult to
It was
write.
very difficult to write, yeah. But I'm glad I did because that's also a comment that I've gotten from people. They've seen themselves in it and they, are happy because Lucy's outcome was so
she
good. It
moves
was so
on.
hopeful. And even though, he was not a nice person and he was kind of, but he was struggling with his own demons. His mental health was not, optimal. She tried to get through that and she tried to constantly excuse it away. But then at one point she just couldn't
And
anymore.
it's not easy after the divorce.
Yeah.
She had issues after that,
Yeah.
even though she was very successful in her
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
And I thought you handled 9/11 wonderfully.
Oh, thank
That
you.
was such a painful time.
It was, yeah. I mean, I was lucky that I didn't have anyone, in my immediate family. I can't even imagine what anybody, but I knew some people very closely that were affected so
I still
deeply.
have Brad's badge from he was to be there.
Oh, wow.
But they stopped him before
wow.
he went down.
Yeah.
But when you think about how lucky we were that he wasn't there.
Yeah, yeah,
And all of those people who had a doctor's appointment were let.
yeah, yeah.
It just, I don't, it makes you believe that, you never can tell.
No,
You
when
got to
it's-
live every day.
When it's your time, it's your time.
When it's your time, it's your
Yeah,
time.
and when it's not, it's not.
Right.
And that was sort of a theme that I also think was running through this. When being in the right place at the right time, being in the wrong place at the right time. That sort of like, why did Lucy have to meet this, Ted, who was just
Right.
such misery?
Exactly.
And
why couldn't she and Chris have made it
Yeah.
together before?
But had she not gone through that with Ted, would she have, been able to appreciate Chris as much as she
Exactly.
did? And, I just feel like everything happens for a reason.
One of the wonderful things I have to ask you is, what did your daughter think about Olivia? Which the way you end that is wonderful. And your
thank
daughter
you.
does have adorable children, right?
Yes, she does. Yes,
You are
she
a
does.
grandma.
I'm a grandmother. Yes, I have 3 wonderful bonus grandchildren that are teenagers. And then I have my Valentina, who's 7, and she's just my heart. And then my 2 little boys, Michael's 2 little boys that are beyond adorable.
Isn't that wonderful? Everybody probably knows that your son is a policeman in this village.
Yes, he
He's
is.
unbelievable. He's the kindest, most considerate.
Thank you.
And I have not had the privilege of meeting your daughter, but your son is really quite special.
Thank you.
And being a police officer is not easy.
Not easy at all, especially, I see it was something that, 9/11 actually was one of the things that prompted him to switch, because he was going to be a gym teacher from day one. That was what he told me from the time he was in 4th grade. I'm going to be a gym teacher. I'm going to be a gym teacher. And then a few, things that happened. He lost a friend's father who was very close to, who happened to be a police officer. He now wears his badge number. But he, in 9/11, really, I think,
Changed.
affected
It sounds like Rico a little bit, who
a little,
decided
maybe.
to be a fireman.
Yeah.
We could sit here for hours, but I want to make sure we haven't forgotten to mention anything in terms of what you want to talk about with this book. Are you available to do book clubs?
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
And have you gone to the libraries here?
Yeah, I've been to Mamaroneck Library and Harrison Library, and I'm doing one at the end of the month in Tuckahoe. My problem is I'm not a saleswoman. I don't get on the phone. Like, I could never sell Girl Scout cookies as a kid. I don't get on the phone and call and say, that's why it's a good thing I make chocolate, because it kind of sells itself. But
Definitely, your chocolate
I
does.
wish I were proactive and could, really promote the book, but I don't.
Well, that's what we're doing
Yes.
today, girl. But I must say, so many people know you, but this is a whole different part of you.
Yeah.
And they actually you did do a very nice biography at the end about the author. I had no idea you had scoliosis. My goodness.
Yeah,
Look
yeah.
how you're sitting. You're doing, obviously it's,
Yeah, I had surgery twice. I had it first when I was 14, and that was to save my life, because if I hadn't had the surgery, they said I would have been dead by the time I was 30. It was, it would have eventually,
you bend up.
and
And
collapsed
so
my
you're
rib
able to
cage.
stand up, make
Oh,
chocolate
yeah.
all day long.
And then I had the surgery again because it was overly corrected when I was 14. So they had to redo the whole surgery, take out the rods that had been
Oh, my
fused to
God.
my spine for 25 years, put in new ones, pins, screws. But that kept me out of a wheelchair for the rest of my life.
And you have this positive attitude, lady, that is so wonderful. You go into Chocolations. My granddaughter Lucy, all she wants to do is work at Chocolation. You walk in, the smell, everything is so divine. And
What are we going to do about Leo?
I don't know. We're going to work on Leo. But thank you so much for talking about the book, for letting me interview you, and for making the best chocolate of anybody I know.
Thank you.
And can we come back when you do sequels?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And let's hope it's not 20 more years.
Oh, God, not 20. You may have to do it with somebody else if it's 20 years. But anyway, don't miss the book. Thank you for watching. And definitely run into Chocolations and get some chocolate as well. It's perfect when you're reading the book. See you next time. Bye, everybody.